Hello. Is it recording? Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
recording.
Now let's do this.
Yeah. So, the conversation about how
Mm.
communication skills to research.
Yeah. Specifically, my project title is the genetic and environmental risk of schizophrenia.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
So but I focus more on the genetic side. The environmental side is to a minimal. Yeah.
So, I guess when you're doing research and
Mhm.
stuff, have you ever had to communicate with different types of people?
Yes, definitely. Because uh, back when I did, because my expertise is in molecular biology,
Yeah.
so mostly involves lab work, and I can safely say I have zero knowledge about programming or IT stuff, and also statistics. Statistics isn't really my strong point because my strong point is more in the lab work part. So eventually, once the communication part is important when you first start a project because you have to establish what skills you have, what you can utilize independently, or other skills that you do not have. Then you have to rely on working with other people so that they can communicate with you. They need to understand your project objectives, what you're trying to achieve. So you communicate your requirements, what skills are you lacking, what do you need from them to achieve your established aims. Yeah, so communicating with people. Let's say I communicated with statisticians to give me suggestions of what statistical analysis to use, what programs, what software to use, and whether if we have licensing issues, do we have to pay for them, and also the IT part, of course, ask them to configure the programs to to suit your needs.
Have you ever run into trouble with communicating with others?
Um,
Like
before
misconceptions or
before doing research, yes, but after doing research, because I've as before I started my research project, I thought after I graduate, after I finished my undergraduate and I got my first full-time job, and along with other past part-time jobs, and then during those times I have problems of communicating, teamwork, and because during that time I've also slowly improved my skills along with the mistakes that I made. So at the stage of my PhD, I hardly get any problems because I already have developed substantial communication skills. I know how to speak to people. I know what words to use, I suppose. Yeah.
yeah. Have you ever had to deal, I guess, people who are willing to communicate back with you
So far
effectively?
not yet, because in the lab, or in my work environment, because it's full of intellectuals. It's full of people that understand. Don't be don't be rude.
Yeah.
They understand the concept. They're all really nice people. So
Yeah.
they're really um, uh, assistive. How do I say this? Yeah, they're really
Helpful.
collaborative.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very helpful. That so far I have no problems working with them. But they, of course, they'll have problems working with me because I'm the one lacking the skills. Yeah, but they're all very helpful people. So I have no problems working with them whatsoever.
So, how important do you think nonverbal communication is?
Nonverbal communication, equally as important, because in the end of the day we have meetings, and the meetings were held under the assumption that most of us already know what's happening. We already know the agenda of the meeting. You
Yeah.
have to do your homework before the meeting so that it saves everyone time. You don't want to give a 2 hour lecture in the meeting and then later on you go on to the actual agenda. Yeah, so it's already in the professional world, it's already assumed that you need to do your groundwork. So written communication is something to prepare you for that meeting. So let's say I have my project, I wrote up what I'm trying to achieve, what are the questions in there, send it to everybody else, and that written work has to effectively communicate what you're trying to achieve, not just in my own language, but in a language that they can understand as well. And once you have that, you hand that to them. If they read if they done your homework, if they read your paper, okay, that makes sense. And then it comes to meeting so that they actually understand your agenda. So
That
it's equally important.
that sounds really cool. So you're saying that nonverbal communication is as equally important as
Yes,
written.
well,
Can you say more important? Like, how can that be?
in some cases, well, if there are, I mean, if you look at a big picture, like let's say in a bigger picture of like managing a project, then of course everything is equally important. But if you have very specific case, for let's say if I'm um, negotiating, let's say if I'm negotiating a deal, let's say if I wanted I wanted to set up a server for my analysis, but that costs money. So during that time, I wrote a short email to the guy that I'm dealing with saying, all right, I need to do this analysis. Can you help me out? So that I've laid down my objective. But how do you negotiate with them for a good price? That I suppose will depend on the verbal part of
Do
the
you
meeting.
feel like a better communication that's more effectively if you necessarily have
Oh,
negotiation?
wow. Again, this is so situational. Um, Assertive. I mean, in in a general way of looking at assertive, might might appear rude because
Yeah.
you're going very straightforward.
Yeah.
You're really it makes. I know you're asking for help,
Yeah.
but being assertive in a way, if presented incorrectly, they might feel
Might rub them
invasive.
off. Yeah, rub them
It
off.
feels invasive to some other people. So usually in the academic field, most of the academic people um, they tend to be really understanding. So even if you do this, they won't really mind much, but it still gets into yeah, it still gets into them. So I would say if you are trying to present an objective, go assertive way. But if you're trying to negotiate, you have to balance between assertive and passive.
So has there been any cultural barriers that you've come across in your life that's sort of like
Mm,
different, I guess?
Cultural barriers actually I don't have to experience that because I'm the one with the different culture,
Okay.
and whereas most of the people working in my workspace right now,
Yeah.
they're mostly locals. They've already grown up here, or they've adapted to
Lifestyle.
The Australian work environment culture already. So they have to put up with me, not not them having to not me having to put up with them. So I won't really understand whether the cultural, even if I did something, I'm not really sure if they actually want to say something about it, but because they understand this is how
Yeah,
how
the
I work
difference
here.
of how
So
you guys are.
yeah, so I'm pretty sure they're aware of that, so that's why they keep quiet about it, and then they just deal with it. They try to find instead of trying to find ways to criticize it, they try to find ways to adapt to my working style. I
Yeah.
would say it that way because my bosses they've been kind enough to not to criticize me in a minimal to the
Yeah.
minimal degree.
So they're
Yeah.
okay with the fact that
Yeah,
you guys are
I'm pretty sure they'll sense some difference, but they'll only criticize me at some point if it actually affects their activities. But if
yeah.
it doesn't, then they just but it doesn't matter. Yeah,
Okay.
because they supervise many other PhD people as well.
Well, thank you for your time.
hmm You're welcome.
Yeah.